Hey, I'm Sith King.
And I'm Sonic Sons.
And we're the Rambling Reviewers.
And today we're looking at Ender's Game, the movie.
The book.
The movie of the book.
The novelization of the movie of the book of the movie of
the book, yeah. So we're going to spoil that book, too. Obviously, we spoil everything. I first encountered this book. I was in high school. I forget which grade. Maybe sophomore, junior, or something like that. And someone mentioned it, and I had not seen it. It was at lunch.
Read it.
Right. Obviously. I had not read it. And everyone at my table just went, go to the library right now and get this book. So I had to leave lunch to go down to the school library and check out Ender's Game. And it was awesome. Yeah. Highly intelligent.
And the movie... Now, you're going to be surprised at this, ladies and gentlemen, because, well, quite frankly, a lot of adaptations, not that intelligent.
Most of them aren't. This one was. This one actually did a good job with the material.
Yeah, especially since the last adaptation that we saw. Oh god.
Oh god, yeah. No, the last Airbender. Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking Superman, but
no, that too. No.
The Superman was okay, but this was really intelligent. It stayed true to the roots.
They should call that the last adaptation. I'm just making puns out of nothing. It stayed true to it cut several things out. Everything they cut, though, you realize they had to do that for timing. The movie only goes 2 hours or whatever it was.
Yeah.
The book is the benefit of time. Like this, they did it with a mind game. And the book, he can visit the giant like 3 times, and you're kind of pondering what he should do. And then, eventually he comes up with his kill the giant solution.
Yeah, granted, that was one problem. Like, sometimes things felt a bit rushed. But, again, the book had the benefit of time. So it wasn't like Ender went up to the giant and immediately decided, let's murder the shit out of him for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, they got it. But all my critical comments are going to be like little things. Because that's all I got. Because they did do a good job.
Yeah, they did a really good job. I mean, yeah, it's just good.
I thought that. Let me talk about the giant because I had that on my mind first. They should have had a very brief montage of him dying like 10 more times. Just like death, frustration, death. So just, and you'd be like, oh, he's been doing this for a couple of hours, and it would get a little more closer to the book there.
Yeah, and it would also show how desperate and determined he is to win.
Yeah. That's
instead of him like trying 2 things and then deciding for the murder plan.
Yeah, though you could play it the other way, because the way he defends his action afterwards is say, that's what they want from us. And you could say something like, oh, he's that clever to know what he's supposed to do. But I would have preferred a little more montage.
The book and the movie kind of imply they didn't know that anyone would try that. The
game just writes itself. Yeah, he gets to the end of the world at one point, and no one's ever been beyond that,
Yeah. Which was really cool because the buggers actually started in the book, the buggers started taking plans from Fairyland and actually built Fairyland and the end of the world on an alien planet. And he actually visited that at the end of the book and found the last queen.
Yep.
Who was in incubation, but
still. Yeah, an egg. He found a queen egg. Well, not exactly an egg, but I'm just going to call it an egg. It's their equivalent of an egg.
Okay, so the movie also... Yes, the movie had fight scenes and action sequences.
Yeah.
And I know it's sci-fi stuff, but we were talking about this earlier. It's surprisingly intelligent fighting.
Yeah.
You hear people actually yelling out different tactics.
Well, you always hear people yelling like... attack pattern delta or whatever in like every other show, but it doesn't mean anything.
Go that direction and shoot until you're either destroyed or they're gone.
Right, but in this sort of like where moments of Ender actually being brilliant, like when he's at battle school and he does this whole thing of he uses all his buddies to like make a shield around a core group of people, and then here's the crazy part: because they're in 0G, if one of them kicks off, the others will change momentum, in a certain way, and you're like. You didn't see that coming, but as soon as he does it, you're like, oh yeah, that's a thing. That's very smart. Oh, wow. And you don't see that in hardly any other show.
Most other shows go with fight harder or stop exploding, you cowards.
Right. I mean, it's
granted, it can be good, but generally fights tend to go down to, okay, the heroes win because they're the heroes, or they have the Infinity +1 sword, so they can keep doing the same thing that they're doing, but it's slightly more effective now for some reason.
Right.
But this one, there's a scene where several Formic ships are like mining some ice from above the y-axis or the z-axis.
Yeah, well, the ice is on it's a plane. It's a flat plane, and they're so-called above it. Yeah.
Above it, relative to where we as the audience are viewing.
Yeah.
Ender orders like, okay, all the drones attack in a massive diversionary raid thing.
Yeah.
While the other ships go underneath and start firing their main guns up through the ice field and just start ripping the shit out of these Formic ships.
Yeah, that's cool. More cool is the climax when they have to. There's this huge freaking cloud of bugger ships. And he goes, "Okay, all fighters, you're not fighters anymore. I want you to act as shields. Just stand around our one big gunship."
No. It was rotating. Rings within rings, and you see it. It's like a giant drill, and it's. And they're firing at the same time, and oh my god, the battle scenes with the Formics.
Yeah.
The Formic, you don't often see, despite all the advances in science fiction technology, I mean, and just our ability to display that science fiction technology, you don't often see that taken to its maximum advantage. You see the bugger / Formic fighters coming through. It doesn't look like squadrons of individual fighters coming through. Imagine watching a dust storm in space approaching you.
Yeah.
That's how many fighters there are. They were as many as grains of sand on a beach.
Yeah.
And then they fire the little doctor device at it, and they just disintegrate from the inside out.
Yeah. It was cool stuff, and it had intelligence behind it. You know, it wasn't like, I'm Ender and I'm a badass. Now I have to go be badass on a battlefield somewhere and kill the enemy. I mean, you know, this was some kid, and this was what's so great about the book, too, is he was enigmatic.
Their fleets are huge. That means they have huge guts, but they're probably powered by fission engines. Oh no, that means they're radioactive. That can't be good.
What?
Doom Marine.
Oh,
the Doom comic.
Oh, right.
But yeah, you could tell everything was like, I mean, Ender wasn't a badass. He was this kid. Severely messed up kid,
he's
mind
badass
you.
in a completely different way, really, is what we should say. Because anyone who blows up a planet has to be badass by definition, but in a different way.
He didn't know that it was a planet he was blowing up. He thought it was a simulation.
Well, yeah. But I'm saying he's very clever.
Oh, yeah.
He's some people would say Sherlock Holmes is badass, right? Because he's badass brilliant. But he's not cliche badass, grit your teeth. And, okay, Gurren Lagann is awesome. But gritting your teeth and just fighting harder.
Yes, and that can work in some circumstances. But that's not what Ender's Game is about.
Right.
Ender's Game is about using the power of your mind.
All right. And the bit where he has the ships rotating around to make a shield, and then makes a gun barrel out of his ships so that the doctor device can fire through. You were like, again, did not think of that, but that's brilliant.
Yes,
I get behind that. And it takes so much more intelligence on the part of the writer to make his characters so intelligent. Precisely. Anyone can be like, and then she swung her sword even harder and cleaved off the orc's head, you know, and you're like, wow, I never would have thought of that, really.
Capping. And woo, she used the Infinity +1 sword. No, you get the sense that this is all just really brilliant tactics, just all going on all the time.
Yeah.
And Ender's not just good at military tactics. He's also good at like interpersonal tactics.
Yeah.
He takes Bonzo aside and said, "Look, you can't make me give up my free time. However, tomorrow, say that you changed your mind. It makes you look generous, and I get my free time back."
Yeah.
And see, that's a sort of brilliant, just political, multi-relational
type of thing.
Yeah.
Well, actually, more. It's better than Machiavellian because he was nice to the other guy too.
It's just all this layers upon layers of brilliance. Now, keep in mind, Ender is not a nice person. He can be polite, but when he fights, he fights them to win and to make sure that the enemy cannot hurt him anymore.
Right. But that is so much. He's fighting for a good reason there. I'm brutal because I'm defending myself.
Precisely.
As opposed to, fuck you, I'm just going to be mean, you know. Which is a metaphor for war in general. Our whole nation, our whole world, whatever, I guess it's a one world government, is going out and saying we're going to take down the buggers because this is for our survival. And there's something they haven't thought of there, which is, the buggers might not actually desire to kill us. Something that even Ender himself doesn't see.
Yeah, the part of the big success of it is that the buggers, when they first made contact with us, they did not see us as intelligent beings.
Right.
They thought that all alien life would be just like them, meaning ruled over by a single hive mind led by the queens.
And also telepathic.
Yeah.
So they didn't understand art or writing or any of that because they're all telepathic. What do they care?
Or, and even better, in the books, it said that they killed off a few people in space tugboats at first, because for them that's the equivalent of clipping a fingernail or something. It's not like losing something important. It's not like losing.
Right.
For them, they didn't understand that we were an entire species of queens capable of self-determination.
Right. And this is one thing missing from the movie, again, due to timing. They didn't get to specifically no, they didn't understand we were sentient. So what you could do walking out of the movie, if you've never read the book, is you think, okay, so the buggers were peaceful around the second time around, and they apparently wanted a dialogue, but that first time, they were dicks. They were totally trying to kill us, so they deserve this. If you read the book, it's, no, seriously, they just didn't understand.
It was clear the first attack. There were actually multiple wars in the book. The first one was basically just a scouting mission, and the second one was. It was clear that was supposed to be the colonization fleet.
Yeah. And then the third. There's one thing again. Little things would have changed. I would have made a bigger moment of, hey, Ender, actually, we are attacking them. Remember, there was the moment in the book where he says, where he reveals our battle plans, and we have practically no one defending Earth, and practically no one defending the solar system. And Ender's like, why do we have no defenses anywhere? And he says, because we are the third invasion. We are going to invade them. And you were like, whoa, everything is turned on its head all of a sudden. And this one, it kind of came about a little more casually. It was just like, oh, yeah, so there's a fleet, and we need you to go kill the buggers.
Oh, and even better, apparently in the books, each of the battles that took place at command school takes place in a different star system. And that's okay, because it's revealed that that's the human fleets going out to these different planets and destroying the bugger fleets so that they can colonize those worlds and take them for our own. Because apparently the buggers and the humans share similar enough biology that we can colonize the same planets.
Yeah.
But in this one, apparently the fleets took care of all the other bugger fleets and planets off screen, and so all the battles took place in the bugger's solar system.
Wait, when did they say that? They didn't say that.
Yeah, they said, okay, well, maybe they didn't say took care of all the other bugger stuff, but they did say that all the bugger fleets and battles were taking place in the bugger sol system.
Did they?
Yes, they did.
I remember them saying the buggers retreated to their home base. I figured that by the time we arrived, they had expanded a little beyond their home base. But yeah, actually, if the whole thing is taking place in the solar system, then the battle should be over fairly quickly, right? I mean, considering the speeds at which these ships move.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, we don't know how fast they move in sublight versus FTL. So if you went from Pluto to Earth at like a tenth the speed of light, that would take a while, I guess. If you were fighting people along the way, too, that would slow down your progress.
Which, that makes sense. By the way, in the movie, they have apparently faster-than-light drives. In the book, it's all relativistic, meaning they move out at the speed of light.
Mm-hmm.
Which is explained how Mazarakam, who was a hero back in the Second War about 50 or 80 years ago, is still alive.
Mm-hmm.
They put him on a ship, sent him out at the speed of light, and sent him back, and bang, he's back in 10 years.
In this one, you're just like, I guess he was 20, and now he's 70, and he just looks young for his age. And you're like, whatever, I'll deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And Ender does refer to him as an old man when he first sees him, which is a little. He doesn't look that old, really, but whatever.
I mean, at best, he looks like that guy from Breaking Bad.
Yeah. So I guess they should have made that actor a little older. In fact, yeah, you could see him as he plain old looks like he's 80, and it would work. So that's a small thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought when he meets Valentine on the lake, there should have been a slightly longer bit where he acknowledges that he just can't get out of this just before the end of it. And she says something like, it's not fair, Ender. We know it's not fair, but you kind of have to do, the best you can in an unfair situation. A slightly stronger acknowledgement of what was going on there, reflect on the fact that they're kids. That we did bits of that here and there.
I said to Sonic earlier, if I wanted a character to show the dangers, how a child should not be a soldier, I wouldn't have Shinji Ikari in Neon Genesis Evangelion. I'd have Ender in Neon Genesis Evangelion.
He'd be too effective.
Yeah, he'd probably end Third Impact easily.
Yeah. Is that was he named that? I mean, by the author on purpose? Ender, as in he is the one who will cause your end.
In story, Ender was because Valentine Wiggin could not pronounce Andrew when she was little, so she just nicknamed him Ender.
Yeah.
And then later, by the time of the next books in the series, it's been 3,000 years, and the story of how Ender Wiggin ended an entire sapient species has become legend, and he's known as Ender the Xenocide, and his name is a swear word.
Yeah, that's quite a thing. I never read the other books.
Yeah,
I've heard that
they're more philosophical.
Yeah,
than anything else.
Which means I might like them. From what I heard, everyone was just like, read the first one, and there's 2 sequel series really. There's the main one, and then there's the Shadow series.
Yeah,
people told me the Shadows were good, but they didn't like the main one.
The Shadows are all about Bean.
Yeah.
Apparently, he was part of a genetic engineering project and escaped when he was really little. So he's always going to keep growing and keep getting smarter.
Wow.
He eventually marries and has multiple kids with Petra.
Wow. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. So the movie was exceedingly good.
Yeah. It was,
I have... a little louder.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I just did that. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to say because they just kind of did it right.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
I had one other comment. The enemy's gate is down. It was kind of just thrown in there, like, the fans will want this line, so they said it twice. You could have made a slightly bigger thing out of it very easily. When he's first in the battle zone, the big sphere, he could have made that comment about, everyone's trying to orient the way they came in, and then you could just have Ender ponder for a moment, and then you would look inside his mind, and you would see him rotating the battle zone in his head, and he'd be musing, there is no up or down in space, but humans evolved to expect an up and a down. And then he said the only 2 points of interest are the gates, and then you'd rotate it so that one gate's on top, one's on the bottom, and then we'd cut back to his face in real life, and he'd say the enemy's gate is down. And you'd be a little more of like, it's a clever little thing there. I could see inside of his head. I can see how he's doing this stuff. Instead, it was kind of throwaway. If you weren't paying attention, you didn't even know what he was talking about. His height confused me a little. Sometimes I started to wonder, is he still supposed to be 11 in this version? He's more like 13.
Yeah.
Benzo's like half a foot shorter than him. I thought Benzo was older. Did I misremember that? But he walks in to...
Bonzo. It was Bonzo.
Bonzo?
Mm-hmm.
Bonzo. All right, whatever. Bonzo. He walks in... Ender walks into Salamander Army's base the first time. And barracks. And you couldn't see Ender's feet in his initial shot. So I thought, like, he must be standing on something. Like, the lip of the room before the door or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then you see him, on the same level with Bonzo.
Bonzo.
Man, it's so hard not to say Bozo. And you're like, Spanish, wait, is the guy just really short? Or
yes, he is.
Ender taller than I realized,
Nope, Bonzo's just really short.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, very minor thing though. I liked his actor. I liked all the actors really. I liked Harrison Ford got to show up and be awesome. This
is very much a counterpoint to Deep Space Nine's In the Pale Moonlight, though.
Yeah. And let's continue that discussion a little bit.
Yeah, I have some revelations to make. I have watched more of Deep Space Nine, and I realized that yes, in fact, the Romulans joining the war was a turning point.
Spoilers for Deep Space Nine, good.
Oh, come on. If you're watching our videos and you don't know that there are spoilers for everything and everything under the sun.
Well, normally we spoil the main thing we're talking about, but go ahead.
Okay, but anyways, with the Romulans, Klingons, and the Federation all on the same side, the Dominion's lines were pushed back. The Cardassians were starting to prove less and less reliable in terms of fighting off the Federations and the Alliances ships. So they started getting more allies into the war, including the Sona from Star Trek Insurrection.
Are we going to recount the entire military history here? Because it'll take a while.
Not really.
Okay.
I'm almost done here.
All right, sorry.
And they also got their hands on an alliance with the Breen. Essentially, imagine the disguise Princess Leia had in Return of the Jedi before the slave outfit, when she was disguised as the bounty hunter.
Oh, okay. I was like, they all dress in bikinis? Okay.
No, that would be of the Orion Syndicate. Got on their side, the Green Slits. Okay, that would have driven up the viewership. Okay, imagine outfits like the bounty hunter outfit, and then talking like a wind tunnel.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were forced to rely on them, but it increased the tensions with Cardassia, so a civil war started amongst the Dominion's allies.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Section 31, the Black Ops arm of the Federation, infected all of the founders with a disease that slowly caused them to die.
Okay.
Except for one, Odo.
Yep.
Finally, they managed to... The Cardassians entered open rebellion against the Dominion, and in the middle of the Civil War, they took the female founder, who was on the Alpha Quadrant side of the wormhole, prisoner. And in exchange for ending the war, Odo said that he would go away to the founder homeworld and join with them for the rest of time in exchange for ending the war and delivering them the cure so that their species and their empire could survive still.
Okay.
The end.
How does this reflect on In the Pale Moonlight?
It shows what the Romulans in the Pale Moonlight brought the Romulans into the Dominion War. That's explaining how it affected the rest of the war. It was a turning point for the Alpha Quadrant species.
Okay, right. But the whole point of discussing the episode was the moral implications. And the moral implication, I mean, basically, they got them. We knew the Romulans came onto their side from the end of that episode.
Yes, but what my point was is that their introduction into the war was a major turning point. So, does the success of this one operation help negate the end?
Was it worth the cost?
Yes, that is what I'm saying. And if this hadn't worked, if the Romulan inclusion into the war had simply just been...
Yeah,
if it hadn't worked, that might have swayed arguments to one side or the other.
Yeah.
But it was a major turning point. So does that affect the argument of was it worth it?
Right. Now, as far as Ender's Game is concerned, the comparison we're making here is what we ended up... But basically what I was saying in the earlier bit. I said, the ends may justify the means so long as there's something to justify the ends. And my first salvo of logic was, okay, do we actually deserve to win this war against the Dominion? Is this an end which is justified? Now, in Ender's Game, the big revelation is the ends were not justified. We thought it was okay to wipe out the buggers, and it turns out it's not okay and not necessary for anybody's survival. So that's the contrast, and that could be the fear that you might have touched on as far as In the Pale Moonlight goes. Oh, what if, obviously, in that case, we knew the Dominion, we had talked to them, and we could see them being dicks. But hypothetically, if your enemy turns out to be not deserving of this treatment, then suddenly all your arguments go out the window, right?
But it still also relies on the fact that we still can't understand them at all. So from their point of view, it was justified because, well, for all they knew, they were increasing their military buildup. For all they knew, that was a precursor to...
about the buggers or the Dominion?
Formix.
Right.
The buggers. For all that the Interstellar Alliance, the International Alliance, the Space Fleet, whatever...
The humans.
For all the humans knew, that massive military buildup was because they were preparing for a third invasion or second invasion of Earth.
So it speaks to the difficulty, but also the incredible need of truly understanding the other side. Which, reasonably, I don't know how anyone was going to figure this out in time. There was that moment where Ender's like, they're waiting, and then Beam was like, the enemy's gate is down, and then Ender blows up their whole species. So really, it's Beam's fault.
I still blame Petra. She was the one who fired the gun.
Yeah, and Petra fired the gun and all that. But basically, both these episodes, Pale Moonlight and this is an episode where Pale Moonlight and Ender's Game both get into the morality of war far more than practically anyone else. It's complex and often involves good people doing bad things,
or bad people
doing good things. And I like that sense of it, because in so many other shows, it's just those are the bad guys. They're going to kill us all.
Fight harder, you fucks.
Fight harder. And then we're about to lose. But what if we fight harder? Oh, we hadn't thought of that. Fight even harder.
Why didn't we think of that brilliant strategy of not fighting weakly?
I gotta love Lord of the Rings, but I was thinking, in all those battles, did anybody do anything tactically brilliant?
And I said Saruman blowing up the wall at Helm's Deep.
Right, that's one thing, though.
Yeah, one
generally
thing.
It's like, you remember there's the TV tropes page for Hollywood Tactics is the battle at the Black Gate, where Aragorn allows his army to be totally surrounded, and there's just a speech bubble someone's put in for, you suck, Aragorn. That wouldn't actually work. And you let it go as far as the show's concerned.
That's from GM of the Rings, or DM of the Rings.
DM of the Rings, yeah.
Go read it. It's hilarious.
But it's...
It has the line, a line about an elvish city that I personally love to death. You know what I'm thinking about this crappy place? Only you can cause forest fires? Exactly. It's hilarious. The whole comic is hilarious.
So 2 points there. One, that the enemy is absolutely evil. There's really nothing redeemable about the orcs. And 2, that the tactics are very simple. There are no tactics. It's just fight even harder, which was fine as far as that show's concerned. I loved it, but man.
Show?
Whatever. I call everything a show. It's just an easier noun.
Wait, which are you talking about? Star Trek, Ender's Game, or Lord of the Rings in this case?
I was talking about Lord of the Rings. The enemy is very evil and no redeemable qualities, and the tactics are very simple.
Yeah.
As opposed to Stargate, which had the...
Stargate?
Star Trek. My goodness, there are too many shows. Which had the more nuanced bit of, we'll come up with this fake data recording that'll get the Romulans onto our side, and all these other complexities that weren't so present in Lord of the Rings.
Of course, there is another added dimension to Ender's Game that Star Trek leaves out, namely the idea of child soldiers.
Which is a great way of showing how war destroys innocence. And I mean that with a CE at the end, not a TS. But both, really.
Yeah, it really destroys both. I mean, you see all over these big posters back when they were on Earth that show, destroyed bugger ships and buildings that have been destroyed because a bugger ship crash landed in the middle of them and saying, we will not forget. Yeah, we won't forget that the buggers can't park their ships for shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn it!
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
So they did cut out all the stuff, basically all the stuff of Valentine and Peter on Earth.
We're back in Ender's Game, by the way.
I'm back in Ender's Game. Man, we've been rambly today. But that's fine. That's exactly what I would cut.
Yeah. Granted, it helps set up a lot of and set up some flavor text, like the fact that after the final battle is won, Ender can never return to Earth due to an agreement that Peter signed, because apparently at age of 15, he's now ruler of the world or something.
Yeah. Good job, Peter.
Oh, and better yet, the reason he's ruler of the world, apparently his live blog was really popular.
Yeah.
His blog was really popular.
He's an incredibly good blogger, man.
XKCD actually made fun of this.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you've got enough. You've received enough likes to become ruler of North America.
Yeah. Yeah. They also cut out Speaker for the Dead, didn't they?
Speaker for the Dead?
The concept of being the speaker for the dead.
Oh, no, that's one of the books in the...
I know, okay but they mentioned that. And no colony or no funeral was complete without a speaker for the dead.
Precisely. And he wrote the books Hive Queen and the Hegemon. where the hegemon covered his brother Peter, and the Hive Queen was all about how peaceful the buggers really were, and how they, which is part of why he's so the name of Ender is so demonized in the future.
Yeah,
it's kind of his own fault.
Anyway, so you
lost.
In fact,
later, Ender actually starts up a school for speakers for the dead.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that's again another thing you get from time. We get to really spend some time contemplating how big this death was and mistakes made and things like that. And then it was just like, and done. But I'm glad that they kept the freaking peace theme. I thought they might cut it out. Make a big budget movie, and it's just, we win! Yay! The end. And then, no, he finds the queen, he does the thing, and he sets off to find a new home for that queen. Thank you very much for keeping that in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about it.
That's Ender's Game.
Okay.
I advise going to see it, but I also advise reading the book.
Yep. Me too.
Okay, well, I'm Sith King.
And I'm Sonic Suns.
And we're signing off.